Good morning, Copers. Good morning. Hello. How are you? It is Thursday, May 28th. June is almost upon us. And I'm getting back into the swing of content. I'm getting back on my grind. I'm trying to set up a progress report for next week, or for this coming Wednesday. It's not going good. It's instant reminder of how much I hate trying to do this, because you know what happens is you message people and you ask them to do the show and then they don't respond. And then you say, how long do I wait? How long do I wait before I move on to the next person? So it's a good time. Anyway, I'm blue. People actually like that song. I do not like that song. In fact, I'm over the one-hit wonders. I'm absolutely over it. I think this will be the last week. I think tomorrow will be the last. I'll pick one last song from my one-hit wonders list, and then I'll just move on to something else starting on Saturday, because I'm just kind of over it. I'm blue. If I were green, I would die. You guys remember that? If I were green, I would die. Getting the Canadian schizo, yeah. Well, he's in an asylum right now, and we already did German week. I realized after the fact I forgot to play one of my favorite German songs though, which is Bei mir bist du schön. Bei mir bist du schön. That guy's in an asylum, and they're probably medicating him. Like, he's probably basically lobotomized already. They probably already pumped him full of antipsychotic drugs. It's generally how it goes. Danny Polshuk ending the bathhouse reminded me of YTPR. I don't know what the bathhouse is. Was that like a 4-person podcast or something? I don't know. I like Danny. Speaking of people who don't respond, I invited him a long time ago. No reply. What am I, chopped liver? These are your mutuals. Does being a Twitter mutual mean nothing anymore? I can't get a reply. If I told you how many people have not responded to me messaging them and inviting them on, I get it. You don't want to do the show and it's easier to just not reply. I get it. It's just, like I said, it creates a problem. I need to be like weeks ahead as what I need to do, so that I have time to sit around and wait to see if people are going to reply. He had to line up guests. It's hell. If Tim Pool couldn't afford to pay somebody to book guests for him, Tim Pool would kill himself. Okay, he doesn't have the fortitude that I have, where I just crash out and quit doing See, instead of quitting the show, I could just quit the show, but instead I just stop doing it for a month, so I can have a break from the frustration, and then I come back and I pick it up again. I've been doing this with the progress report since day one. Just take a break. Just take a break so that you can have a chance to re-energize from all the bullshit. Anyway, not a big, super huge news day or anything. We do got a lot of vibrant migrant news over in Europe that we're going to look at, and some other stuff. Let's get into it.
Donald Duck to send $5 on Rumble. Hammer from Blood Tribe, if you can hear this, please respond to LP's DMs. The Copas need you.
I don't even know where do you even go to get a hold of that guy?
Yin Yang sent $3 on Power Chat. Highly recommend What If God Was One Us.
Oh my God, I haven't thought of that song in so long. What if God was one of us? Was that who is that? Alanis Morissette? Or Joan Osborne. Okay. Hold on. Yeah. So we had HT called in on the show last week if you were here, and I talked about getting him on, and that's going to be, he's not one of the people I messaged because I had a couple other people, but I'm trying to figure out who am I going to get on the show with HT, you know? That's a question I have not yet answered. Anyway, William got banned from Twitter. Apparently, he's in some group chat with a guy called Autismus, and Autismus said, "Nigga needs his diaper changed," and William replied and said, "I will genuinely rape the spick out of you, nigga." And then the guy reported that, and then his account got banned. Which is, hey man, this is one of the reasons. There are many reasons. This is one of the reasons I don't do group chats, because that's how they get you. I'm like pretty sure that's how my Facebook page got banned, because some guy said something and I called him the N-word, hard R. I can't remember exactly what it was over, but I said something with a hard R. And then my Facebook page just got banned for no apparent reason, and I'm sure it's because he reported me.
Brain sent $5 on Power Chat. Seems like there's a lot of proper gents who follow you. Copa's in control.
Who, like Danny Polshuk? Where did that come from? I don't know. I don't even know what you mean by that, but I have a lot of mutuals, but it's like I was saying that apparently, you know, to me, that's like a sacred bond, but apparently to them, it means nothing. Fucking Dave Smith, don't even get me started. He's the worst. Dave Smith responded to me like 3 years ago and said he would do the show. And I've messaged him like 8 times since then. 8 times. No reply. Jews, I tell you, I tell you, man, these Jews, no professionalism in show business. So anyway, somebody on Crusaders is an HT fan. Looks like. I'm not exactly sure what's getting said there, but looks like a fan. Soft A is allowed. Kind of wish it wasn't. Facebook would be so white. Yeah, maybe maybe we should lobby for harder hate speech laws where you can't say nigga on the internet or you get banned. 4D chess. Internet princess. Okay, so he got his account banned. You gotta be careful, man. Don't let people bait you. And also, the thing about group chats and DMs is people get comfortable. People cut loose. I cut loose one time on Facebook with some random, and I'm sure he reported me and got my page that had like 200,000 followers banned. William has a backup called @WilliamBackup with 164 followers, and he said, "This feels so coordinated." Max Nordo said, "William needs a social media manager who will delete all of his social media and help him find a career that's not in social media." And Apple Chomping Unk said, "William needs a social media manager who isn't manic to manage his online presence." And this was quoted over a meme. I think the original meme says Hitler dead, right? It's all these people reading the Hitler dead newspaper.
The Orthodoxer sent $3 on Power Chat. Alex Rosen on PTR sometime would be awesome.
We actually did have him on once. Again, a lot of you guys are fake fans who don't know the whole Progress Report discography, and it shows. We did have him on. The problem with Alex Rosen, it's the same problem with Alex Stein, that they're like too busy. We had Alex Rosen on, and he came on the show and he was like driving in his car. I think it was an evening show. He was like driving to like from one bus to the next bus, and it's like it's cool that you do the show, but at the same time, I don't want, if you're going to be in your car, I don't, just tell me because I'll get somebody else. And like Alex Stein has done the same thing where he agrees to do, and then he like shows up and he's like sitting in his car doing the show. You know, these are very hard-working guys. I respect the grind and all that. I respect it, but also it's like I want there to be a certain level of like quality to the podcast. Okay. Went back to Judaism and got an abortion. Dude, I tweeted about that. I think I know who you're talking about because it was kind of a big story. She didn't refollow after me. That girl, yeah, she was like an anti-abortion activist, but she was like Jewish, and she got an abortion and then converted back to, and then she started making cope content about abortion and became like a pro-abortion activist after she got an abortion. I kind of broke that story on Twitter. I forget how, but I tweeted about it first and it went viral way back at the time. Yeah, Rosen, that was with like, we also had Lily Gaddis and Dick Madison, or Dick Madison. What's his name? What the fuck is his name? Oh my God. Dick. You know the guy, Dick. So it was kind of a crazy show. Now, I just learned this. Apparently, this guy is William's dad. And we did an episode. What is his name? Dick Madison. It's not that, is it? Masterson. Holy fuck, you guys.
The Orthodoxer sent $3 on Power Chat. I meant to say TPR. I'm not even dyslexic, lol. I'm retarded.
That's the least of the worries. How about we ban all Miggers together? Yeah. Total Migger death, you could say. Dude, can they make peptides that fix your brain? Is there a peptide that undoes 20 years of marijuana abuse? Oh man. Anyway, there was an old episode where this guy is a divorce lawyer and he was on Soft White Underbelly, gave an interview on Soft White Underbelly, and we watched it on the show like years ago. Blue Ridge Jewess. Yeah, it is the same person. It's the same person. Yeah, I broke that story and it went viral on Twitter when she got the abortion.
Woman of Zeus and $5 on Crusaders. I've seen the video of how it's disgusting and he's a Jumut. I'm not a princess, I have no interest in what the fag has to say. No offense LP, I'll just pass on that stream.
Oh, HT? Yeah, no, none taken. Look, man, that's, don't even get me. So when you finally get people to do the show and you get them booked, then you get to listen to the audience piss and moan and complain about how they don't like the guests. So it just, the fun never ends at the progress report. The fun never fucking ends. You kill yourself sending out hundreds of messages to book some guests, and you finally get somebody to agree to do the show, and then the audience is like, that guy, he's a fag. That guy sucks. Woman propaganda is a race mixer, you know? It just, the fun never ends, because what's really easy to do is pleasing everybody all the time. Anyway. Do you guys remember, was anybody here when we watched the divorce lawyer? It must have been a slow news day, or maybe that was like a members only video I did. But I feel like it was an actual episode of the Cope. Anyway, so this is William's dad.
Men want sex and will give you attention in exchange for it. Women want attention and they'll give you sex in exchange for it. You know, and so it's an economy. And again, I think that's a very fair economy, which is why the chances of you getting laid, if you say to your partner, you're the most beautiful woman in the world, you're so wonderful. You know, I'll digress for a second. My son texted me the other day and he said, "Dad, can you send me some money?" And I said, son,
It was the locals. Yeah, I used to, whenever I couldn't think of a members only video, I would just go on Soft White Underbelly and look for something interesting. I haven't done that in a long time. I have a few bookmarked because there's one that's it's called Raised by Pedophiles. I might do that at some point.
BRDXV sent $5 on Rumble. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
It really is. It's just not worth it, but I don't know. I'll keep trying for now. Eventually I'll just give up and end the show eventually, but not yet.
I just looked at my text. I haven't got a text from you in a week. I said, let me give you a bit of advice because I feel like I'm a financial booty call for you.
LP hates them. Well, look, man, I have no problem with people saying I'm not interested in this. I'm not going to watch. Fine. Great. Just leave it at that. Don't try to convince me that I shouldn't be getting the person on. You know what I mean? You're free not to watch, but when you start being like, you shouldn't talk to that guy, that's when it drives me crazy. When you start telling me what I should and shouldn't do.
I said, and I have no problem with the concept of a booty call, but if you're going to be a man, let me tell you something you need to know about a booty call. If on a Friday night you text
Sam Hides is like that, but good. Yeah, I know what you mean by that. One of my big complaints with Soft White Underbelly is the guy often doesn't ask the most obvious questions that he should be asking, and it drives me crazy.
Text a girl at 1 a.m. saying, "Hey, are you up? I was just thinking of you." She knows why you're texting her. If you haven't texted her in a week, she's not necessarily going to be receptive to that text. But if on Wednesday you think, you know what?
Invite whoever you want. The funny thing is I already do that. It's just that people complain. You know what I mean? So saying just do what you want, it's the same thing as doing who cares if people complain? And it's well, I do. It's fucking annoying, actually. Shut up. Just shut the fuck up and stop complaining.
I'm going drinking on Friday. I should send that girl. And you sent her hey, I just heard a song. It made me think of you. Hope you're doing well. The chances when you text her on Friday at 1 a.m. and say, "Hey, are you up? What are you doing?" There's a part of her that's going to go, "I know why he's texting, but anyway, he did."
All right. Not even listening to this guy. Men want sex, women want attention. I guess I'll just let that slide. Rusty Cage had his APAC money video removed from YouTube. We getting APAC money. If you watched YCSP on Sunday, you would have heard this song on the outro. Apparently, it was for unwanted sexualization because he had Lindsey Graham on a leash like a dog lapping up his APAC money. It was such a banger song, man. They're getting APAC money. Probably Gabe Hoffman flagged him down. Gabe Hoffman is the only Jew who actually has such no life that he sits there going through anti-Semitic YouTube videos trying to find the part he can flag. Immersion short fat otaku. Oh my God. Hell, that's actually hell. If I'm gonna die and wake up in hell, and I'll be hosting a podcast with Mersh and short fat otaku.
63 sent $5 on your tube. William looks like he shits people's cats professionally. Never let someone shit your cat professionally or otherwise.
One of the biggest things about William that rubs me the wrong way is when I see him on X, he's always bragging about his analytics and his numbers. Whenever he's always arguing with people on X, and it's always, I mog you on YouTube, I get 100,000 views per video, which that is good. I can barely crack 10K per video these days. But it's he's really focused on the numbers.
$3 if you ever have Purelon. It'll probably be a good show, but would probably lead to one of the biggest burnouts to date.
I don't know. I don't think people would actually. Well, I mean, there'd be like a lot of mud shark comments, but it's not necessarily the same thing as a spur goat. The spur goats come from when people have derangement syndrome. So if Nick ever did the show, there'd be a spur goat for sure. I think he meant shoots people's cats. Anyway, William's always like, yeah, my numbers. And he seems like a guy who is like good at social media and really proud of the fact that he's good at social media. But when you see somebody who's focused on that so much, it makes you wonder if they even really believe in anything other than like getting famous and getting money and all that. I mean, he was an empath. He was in Empath Chan's DMs simping. Let us not forget, right? So it's a lot of people. They want money and they want fame because they want women. You know, they just want to, they want to have like lots of sex with lots of different women, and William kind of gives that vibe. Not saying that's what he's doing, but that's maybe what he's doing. Lord Miles has posted new pictures with his hair, and I've never been more convinced that I need a hair transplant. His videos are informative. Well, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I'll take your word for it. He acts like a right-wing e-girl. Yeah, that's kind of a good way of putting it. Just kind of like a clout goblin. What a glow up. I showed this to Allison and she was like, I don't know, he looked better bald. And I was like, you're so full of shit. You're such a liar. Let's check in on the Republican Party. Let's check in on the conservatives. Scott Pressler, and this guy is like who is he, like the governor candidate, and he's Indian.
Hey everybody, this is Scott Pressler and Republican Party of Texas Chairman Abraham.
Bald gracefully. No thank you. No thank you.
George, you know,
age gracefully. No thank you. How about I do every fucking peptide imaginable? I get hair transplant surgeries, I get the LASIK surgery, and I get the jacket from Drive with the scorpion on the back. How's that for aging gracefully? I start wearing the Ryan Gosling Drive jacket everywhere I go.
Of everything he could be doing today, the chairman is here in person at a polling location in Collin County. This is Allen, Texas. And I have been here since 9:30. It's now 2 o'clock, shaking every hand and meeting voters, and it's been a steady stream, which shows me that people know about today, the runoff. I am also concerned, Mr. Chairman, with making sure that once we have all of our Republican candidates, that we as a family coalesce together, united.
Montbren sent $3 getting on hymns for my hair. I don't wish to join the most oppressed class.
Or is that a drug? See, I do refuse to do that. I refuse to take any of those drugs like finasteride or whatever, because I've heard bad things about the side effects. But from what I understand, you can get a hair transplant and you don't have to do drugs.
And our conservative values to ensure that every one of them from the top of...
Our conservative values, ladies and gentlemen.
Conservative values to ensure that every one of them from the top of the ticket to the bottom of the ticket wins, which means mark your calendars. Tuesday, November 3rd.
This country is so cooked. This country is so done.
2026 is election day. But again, thank you to our chairman for making yourself available. And where can people go? This is the Republican Party of Texas. What is your website? What is your social media? How can people support you?
Well, Republican Party of Texas website is texasgop.org. All of our handles on social media, such as X and Facebook and everything else.
This guy's trying so hard not to sound Indian. He probably took like speech lessons He probably took like voice acting lessons to try, but you can still hear it.
Texas GOP. But here's the thing, Scott, thank you for being here. You're coming back to Texas and hanging out with us and pushing for conservative candidates, you know, and it all comes down to who do we elect in November. And you're right. Once this primary election runoff is over, we're coming together. We're going to push for every single candidate. And November is more important than anything else we've seen in the last 2-3 decades, because we have crazy Democrats running in Texas and all over our country. So,
oh, just kill me, dude. Can someone just kill me, please? Whites taking L's. Look at the hypocrisy of Elon. So this is a quote tweet. Elon Musk said the government helped murder this poor English boy. This is, of course, about Henry Novak, who was stabbed by an Indian man named Vickrum Digwa. And when the police showed up, well, I'll just let this chick explain it. Is this that Saskia girl? Is that her name? Yeah. She seems all right.
Can't breathe. Those are the last words of 18-year-old Henry Nowak, an innocent white lad
kind of quiet.
who was brutally stabbed to death by a Sikh with an 8-inch ceremonial blade that is allowed in the United Kingdom because the accusation of racism took.
Ying Yang sent $3 on Power Chat. Better start learning Punjabi and winking at Indian trans women. America cooked.
For real. They used to say learn Mandarin, but it's unironically like Punjabi might actually be taking over the Indian diaspora everywhere. Good Lord.
Precedence over a young lad who had been brutally stabbed and was bleeding out. He died handcuffed whilst he was bleeding out. The police, the people that are supposed to protect us and represent us and have our best interests at heart, took the side of somebody who was not from this land, and they put them first. That is the state that we are in. And what protections do we, across Europe, what protections do we, white people, actually have? What defence do we actually have? You see 25 million...
BRDXV sent $5 on Rumble. There are on gays, Jeets, blacks, spics, Muslims, Jews, in my idea of a nationalist conservative founders party.
There are no... I think he meant... Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Maybe maybe let's try to tone down the slurs in the power
Monk_brain
chats,
sent $3 on Power Chat. What happens when you move from Poland to vibrant, diverse London?
What happens? Oh, what, that guy wasn't from Poland, was he?
To the Jewish community.
Was he?
The other week with the Golders Green attack. Sikhs can do as they please and carry around ceremonial blades, and every community can do as they want and get away with it, whilst we have nothing, because whilst those borders are open and these people are here, we're at risk every day. It's like taking your life in your hands. It could be me, it could be you, it could be your friend, it could be your neighbour, because it's coming to all of us. This, what you see, won't just be something you read about. It will be something that you are personally affected by. I don't know where we go from here, because I'm fed up of standing here and talking about another white innocent person who's been killed. Think about how many more we've got to go. How many more another white innocent person was killed.
It's literally every day. Every day, some white person wins the reverse ghetto lottery.
Today, think about how many more of those videos and how many times we're going to have to speak about that. These are predictable, preventable tragedies that they are enabling.
What am I, the big city fucking name knower? Henry Nowak. Polish. Was he Polish? Poland. So Elon Musk said the government helped murder this boy. White's taken L said, look at the hypocrisy of Elon. The guy he is defending was drunk, used racial slurs for sick guy, started punching him while filming, and pulled his turban off. So the sick guy was just defending himself. Chud the Builder can shot a guy for defending himself, but a person of color can't defend himself. See how effortlessly they lie? He wasn't drunk. They did toxicology on him, and he was under the legal limit for blood alcohol. Like, he could have legally driven a vehicle. Anyway, the brown guy was found guilty by a jury who rejected his lies.
And we're going to return to that breaking news that a 23-year-old man has been found guilty at Southampton Crown Court for the murder of university student Henry Novak.
Yeah, this is Vickrum Digwa, who had claimed that young Henry Novak had been racially abusive towards him, and that was the reason that he stabbed this young man who was...
It's always the same excuse, too. He said the N-word. He racially abused me. He said a slur. This, and then it's okay to kill them.
Handcuffed by the police as he lay dying there on the pavement, despite shouting to the police that he couldn't.
$3.95.63 sent $5 on your tube. I did not mean really and shoots him but shits him. He grabs him by the scruff of their necks and shits him professionally.
Is that a thing? Making cats poop. Professional job. Is that like an actual job that I don't like? I'm actually more lost than ever before. I don't know what you're talking about.
Breathe. Well, our reporter Isabel Feculak doing sterling work for us down in Southampton this afternoon. Isabel, is there any reaction yet from Henry Novak's family? Do we know what exactly they want in terms of the investigation going forward against Hampshire Police?
Well, Mark, I think it's clear that Henry Novak's family will want answers from the police. However, it is important to say that the pathologist did make clear that once the police arrived at the scene, there was nothing they could have done to save Henry Novak's life. Still, as you said there, he was handcuffed in the moments before he lost consciousness. And Digwa's account that he was racially attacked in the prosecution's closing speech a couple of days.
That's not a thing. You're just trolling us. Cat shit. I mean, I can't just Google cat shitting because that's just cat poops. There's no way that's what it's called.
Ago, they called it a wicked
thing.
lie. They said that this case was not about racism, but about...
we covered Rupert Lowe's son's wedding on Tuesday. We already covered that.
Cold-blooded murder, and that's what this was. He stabbed Henry Novak 5 times, 3 times in the front of his body, in the groin, face,
and the short answer is I do not care.
And chest, and twice in the back of the legs. Now, a question to the police would be, how did they not see those injuries, especially the slash to his face? And of course, the murder weapon was a kapan, that Sikh religious knife carried by initiated Sikhs as a...
The police have issued an apology. I understand they've apologized officially now for, failing to get him medical treatment. But yeah, these questions still remain. Where's the body cam footage? The guy's he's bleeding. He's got a knife slash on his face, and you don't immediately. They ordered medical. They ordered like EMTs for George Floyd more than they ordered for Henry Novak. You know what I mean? And then they still put Chauvin in jail, even though they called the EMTs and told them to come.
Mandatory article of
Google search history must be wild, dude. Oh, dude, no, I can't tell this story. It's too embarrassing. I knew it was. I just had to double check. So there was a tweet said that like there was a mass stabbing outside a Swiss train station, right? And we're gonna get to that story here in a few minutes. But I was like, Swiss. That's Switzerland, right? Not Sweden. And then I was like, let me Google it just to make sure. And then this is a true story. I was like, you know what? I better do this in incognito mode so people don't see me Googling the most retarded fucking thing ever. And but I knew it was Switzerland, just to be clear. I just was double checking because I had I was like, wait a minute. Because it's a little confusing. Sweden, Switzerland, Swiss, Anyway. I never do that, though. That's not like, it's not normal for me to be like, oh, let me do this incognito. I was just like, this question is so fucking stupid. I can't have it be revealed.
Faith, that knife that was used to murder Henry Novak was a 21 centimetre long blade, so causing serious injuries, internal bleeding that he may not have been able to recover from even if the police had the correct information. It's important to say that Digwa lied repeatedly to the police. He told them that Henry Novak was pretending. He said in court that he thought that he was pretending to be in a worse condition than he was. The police responded to a call about an assault, and that's how they treated it, treating Henry Novak as the perpetrator, not the victim.
Isabel, stay with us a second because we're getting more in the way of information from Nicholas Lobenberg, the KC for the prosecution in this case. Now, he told the jury that Digwa, who had been training with weapons since the age of 12, had described the murder weapon in loving terms, and that he sleeps in his bedroom with an arsenal of weapons. He also said that although Sikhs are permitted in law to carry a kripan knife, the discreet carrying of a small dagger under clothing was sufficient for the requirements of this religion. In other words, it didn't need to be a huge weapon such as the one he was carrying that night. He said the defendant chose to carry two knives, one under his clothing, while the large knife, which was used in the killing, was on display. He added, the prosecutor, that this is a man who likes weapons. He thinks a knife is a suitable wedding present for his brother. Judge William Mosley has adjourned the case now until the 1st of June for sentencing. And Isabel, on that, I think, obviously it's going to be mandatory life imprisonment as any murder conviction.
Optimistic there. That's not usually how it pans. From what I understand, the way it usually pans out is they say you're not competent. They put you in a mental hospital for like 3 years and then they unleash you on the public again.
But then there will be a tariff added to that, and likely, I think, to be increased, Isabel, given that this murder
should be death penalty. This guy should be dead the day after tomorrow or something. You know what I mean? Just enough time to set up the live stream. Just enough time to set up the public execution and all that, and make sure there's, people have time to like clear their schedules and shit. And then he should be killed.
Lied repeatedly about the fact that this young man, his victim, had racially abused him.
Right, so there you go. He lied. He called the white guy racist to try to get away with murder. Tale as old as time. Just another thing you just see every day now. And the reason people do that is because it works, and it shouldn't work. Even if you are racist, you don't get to kill people, right? Which is why it's so important that we get Chud the Builder a good legal defense so that he can hopefully be acquitted, unlike several people who came before him. Because this is like a big part of the culture war that we have to fight, is like this idea that like racist people deserve to die. That's the cultural zeitgeist. That's why they say shit like that.
Yes, exactly, and also lied repeatedly about the condition that Henry Novak was in when police attended the scene. As I said before, saying that Henry Novak was pretending to be worse than he was after stabbing him 5 times, including that fatal wound to the chest. And yes, as you said there, he was also carrying 2 knives, one Kapan and one other one underneath his clothing. So definitely, I think there will be an extended charge for his repeated lies to the police and the fact that no ambulance was called and the police were not able to help Henry Novak reach a hospital in time.
No ambulance was called. Again, that's worse than what they did to George Floyd. So are these, are the police going to be charged? Imagine, I'm about to say the most cringe thing anybody can say, but imagine if the races were reversed. Imagine if Henry Novak was black and the guy who killed him was white and the cops handcuffed the black guy and then let him bleed out on the sidewalk.
Isabel, we know that the attacker here lied.
Can you imagine? Then people would really be pissed off.
A wicked lie, as it's been described. Do we know what the motive was, if it wasn't racist abuse that he said?
No, there was no exact talk of what the motive may have.
Yeah, so a big unanswered question here is why the fuck did he kill this guy? What actually happened?
Although the prosecution said in court that Henry Novak had recorded a video of Digwa saying, "Go on, say you're a bad man." In the video, Digwa turns around and does say he is a bad man. But in that in the prosecution, they said that he did not like to be recorded. Digwa said to the court that he was afraid for his life. He was petrified that the curb pan was going to be used against him, and that many Sikhs had been filmed and harassed, and these videos had gone viral. So that possibly could have been a motive. On the night, though, there's no real way of knowing what was exactly going through Digwa's head.
Well, let's just hear again from that senior.
Oh, I just thought about Scottish Knife Girl, and I am going to do my 2-tier policing, and I thought hearing him talk about they're filming us, I want to include a mention of Scottish Knife Girl just because it was the same thing where people insanely and against all reason were like, oh, this is just a gang of white girls who go around racially abusing foreigners. It's a roving gang of 13-year-old white girls.
$3 on Power Chat. Barry Washington Jr. has a permanent bronze plaque memorial in Bend with a personal quote, "Mama, I'm going to be good."
Oh my God. Yeah, I have that on the list. That's on the list. This is what I have. Henry Nowak, Derek Chauvin, Ian Cranston, that's the Barry Washington, the McMichaels, Chud, Anthony Santi, and Daniel Penny, which I put together just to do a comparison between the two. And then I just added Scottish Knife Girl. But if there's any good ones missing, I know some guy sent me, whoever that was on Telegram, some guy sent me a story where he went to jail for a year because he, let me just pull it up. Actually, he, is it in my DMs? No, shit. Never mind. I don't want to look for it, but they vandalized a pride flag or pride sidewalk or something and went to jail for a year. I don't know if I'm going to use that because you did break the law is the problem, but I haven't actually looked at it that closely yet.
Officer from Hampshire Police apologising to the family of young Henry Novak for the actions of his officers that day. Let's have a listen.
I'm sorry that Henry's life couldn't be saved that night, and I'm sorry that he was handcuffed and arrested in the moments before he lost consciousness. When his killer made that call to police, and he called the police, not the ambulance service, he lied on that call. He lied when police attended the scene. He continued to lie as Henry's condition deteriorated. It is clear, and it is absolutely tragic, that it took them 3 minutes before they started to administer first aid. It is important, though, to say the pathologist has been clear. There's
3 minutes. Hold on. Hey, Grok, how long did it take the police to call the ambulance for George Floyd when he started freaking out?
About 4 minutes after he was on the ground complaining he couldn't breathe. Police got him out of the car around 8:18, put him on the pavement, and Chauvin's knee went on his neck shortly after. Officer Thomas Lane called for an ambulance at about 8:22 as a non-emergency code 2 for someone bleeding from the mouth. They bumped it to emergency a minute later. The ambulance showed up at 8:27. Floyd was already saying, "I can't breathe," and panicking earlier, while they tried to put him in the squad car, saying he was claustrophobic. That's when Lane first met.
Eat Soak to be Nationalist sent $14.88 on Power Chat. Mark Collett has an excellent Substack article on this. What will happen with the policeman who let him bleed to death? Probably nothing.
Thank you for the big super chat. Appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, fuck, man. But yeah, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen to these cops.
nothing officers could have done which would have saved Henry's life.
Well, Isabel Fekalak, thank you very much indeed. We'll come back to you very soon, I'm sure. Thank you for being at the court for us. In the studio...
Was Grok wrong? I could have sworn they called like the ambulance like when he was like in the car freaking out, but I don't know. I don't care that much.
We have Charlie Peters, our national reporter, who's been following this case for us as well. Charlie, questions for the police. How do you suspect this will go from here?
Well, there will be that independent Office of Police Conduct investigation into how they...
That's what I thought, RDX. When he was still inside the car, they called the ambulance, like way before he was even on the ground.
Handled this case, but there has been much uproar since the prosecution of this murder opened a couple of weeks ago, because I think this murder was not well known. But when the detail was revealed by the prosecution that the police had in fact handcuffed the victim of this murder, that set ablaze public discussion, even though, of course, people were not meant to discuss these cases while they're active. But the detail was so shocking that there has been so much discussion of it online, including from the tech billionaire Elon Musk, the world's richest man, who actually, during the trial, said that he would like to fund a private prosecution against the police over the incident. He said it was unconscionable what had happened, and he said they were disgusting.
I'm about to start banning people who mention Rupert Lowe and his son. You guys need to shut the fuck up, seriously. That somebody asked a question in the regular chat, not even a super chat, like 20 minutes ago. I answered it, and you're still spurging out about that. The next people who mention Rupert Lowe and his son are getting banned, and I don't care what you say about it. Just shut up.
Excuses for law enforcement. In fact, the level of discussion around that...
People are such fucking spurgs, it's unreal.
That detail that the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary had arrested Henry Novak as he lay dying. Indeed, it sparked a response from the Sikh Federation in Britain, expressing their deepest condolences for the tragic loss of life, aware that there was now so much focus on this case, on the actions of Digwa. And they said the Sikh community remains peaceful, well integrated, and a deeply valued part of British society. They urged everyone to allow, of course, at the time, the judicial process to proceed. There was some concern that so much focus on the actions of the police could have affected this trial. So widespread was the public discussion. But they said, the Sikh community, together we move forward stronger. And I think there will now be a discussion, Mark and Emily, about the Kirpan, about how members of the Sikh community and British Sikhs are able to carry around knives, often in areas where they are prohibited. Just as an example, Wembley Stadium, the home of football, none of us are permitted to carry any offensive weapons or even a shaving razor into that stadium. But Sikhs are permitted to carry a kirpan dagger, a knife, as long as it is no larger than 5 inches. That's still quite a significant blade. Now, we know in this case that Digwa...
Jake Tungsten sent $5 Rumble. Were you thinking of Enrique Carroll earlier? He was the head of the Proud Boys. He served 155 days in jail for taking off from the church and burning it.
No, it's some guy who's a coper who, let me see if I can find it real quick. Any excuse to stop looking at the fucking live chat. Where was this guy in here? I have like a Telegram folder for DMs, but the person hasn't been moved over there, and so it's just like I follow too many Telegram channels is the problem. Where the heck is it? Yeah, I don't know. I can't even find it. Because he sent me a news article about it. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
Was carrying 2 blades, and that he has been described as the prosecution as a man, who liked weapons, a man who thought that a knife was a suitable wedding present for his...
Right, they're just repeating themselves. So that's where we're at. The jury decided that the brown guy was full of shit and he's guilty of murder. His mother was also found guilty of assisting because he showed up and she helped him hide the knife.
Anonymous sent $3 on Power Chat. You had to Google to see if Swiss was actually Swedish? Bro, you have lost your white card.
It's not Swedish. It's Switzerland, dummy. Hey, retard. It's Switzerland, you fucking dummy. What are you, retarded? Hey, dum-dum. It's actually Switzerland. Duh. Okay, 4 stabbed by knife man shouting Allahu Akbar at Switzerland train station in front of terrified children. I also was trying to ask Grok to draw an angry Muslim with a knife this morning for my thumbnail, and Grok wouldn't do it. Yeah, I do have 130 IQ. So imagine what people with 100 IQs are out here knowing and not knowing.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. We have some breaking news now for you from Switzerland. Mark White joins us in the studio.
Very worrying development. Reports of a stabbing attack that's taking place at a train station at Winterthur.
Jake Tungsten sent $5 Rumble. I want my own ceremonial William Wallace sword.
Yeah, well, what you need is a ceremonial chainmail armor so you don't get stabbed if you're in London.
Which is northwest of Zurich, involving a man apparently who's gone on the rampage, stabbing multiple people. You can see the images there that appear to show the moments after the stabbing attack, a man suspect running.
By the way, as we cover all this news of brown people stabbing white people all over Europe, keep in mind, we're going to get to this Ian Carroll story later. I just want to I want you to keep this in the back of your mind because I haven't watched his explanation yet, but my understanding is that Ian Carroll is like, oh, this stuff is all like too negative, and I want to start just doing like true crime or whatever. I don't know. We'll get there, but he's like pivoting. He made an announcement that he's pivoting from conspiracy slop to true crime. And the reason I'm bringing this up right now is because if you are real and you want to talk about things that are real and matter, you have to talk about why we shouldn't have brown people in white countries. Like, this is what you have to be talking about, is the nonstop slaughter and massacre of white people happening on a daily basis at the hands of non-whites. And some people, though, are just like weak, and that's too controversial for them, and they don't want to be weird and racist and racial. And so they, people like that are more drawn to the conspiracy slop, because you can talk about Epstein till you're blue in the face and it doesn't have to be like a race thing. But eventually you get sick of like making up weird schizobabble to freak people out about, and then you say, what now? And it's like, well, maybe it's time to talk about shit that is real and that is actually happening and that is actually affecting people's lives. Not saying the Epstein stuff doesn't matter, or like, Charlie Kirk's death doesn't matter. Obviously it does, but there's kind of like a weakness there, a kind of weakness to not wanting to confront and talk about race. Everything's about race. Everything. That's like the issue.
Down the street. And according to eyewitnesses, this man was heard shouting multiple times, Allahu Akbar, as he stabbed and then ran off. At the moment, we're told of 4 people with knife injuries. No word on how significantly injured they are, but there is a very heavy police presence, as you would imagine. Paramedic vehicles that are there triaging those that have been injured. According to local law enforcement, a 31-year-old man was arrested at or near the scene in connection with this. Whether this is a suspect or not, that's not been confirmed.
Another guy who they'll say is mentally unwell, put in a mental hospital for 3 years and then let out. Do you know that woman who cut off a kid's head got like let out? I think. Woman in burqa cut off child's head. Wait, this wasn't in Moscow. That's not what I'm thinking of. Uzbek nanny. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong story. Oh, she didn't cut off it. She just stabbed a girl. Stabbed little girl. I'm sure this was in the UK. Well, or it was somewhere in Europe. It's not this one. You guys know which one I'm talking about, right? Racism. No, it's not that one. Anyway, some woman stabbed a girl at like a playground. Maybe I should have tried at a playground. Anyway, and then I can't remember if the girl died or not, but the woman is like out now. She's been released from her like mental health treatment.
But these, as I say, very concerning reports of a stabbing attack, a man who is reported to have stabbed at least 4 people. There were significant crowds outside this busy train station, including young children, could be seen on the video as well at the time. And a 31-year-old man now in custody in connection with this. Eyewitnesses reporting that as the attacker was seen running away, he was shouting, Allahu Akbar, God is great, of course, in Arabic, multiple times.
I was just going to ask Mark, Switzerland, I'm just looking it up here, largely spared major Islamic-style terror attacks thus far.
Yes, but of course in other parts of Northern Europe and around Sweden, they've got a very significant problem. I mean, there have been incidents in Switzerland in recent years as well. There's barely a country in Europe that has not been touched by
It happened in
Islamist
France.
terrorism. We don't know, obviously.
Woman in burqa stabs girl in France. Playground? I swear it was at a playground. Syrian male? No, it's not that one. Dude, I know this happened. It's just the details are fuzzy.
Given that we are hearing about reports that this man had shouted Allahu Akbar, attention is obviously turning to the possibility of this being an Islamist attack, inspired attack. That will come out in the fullness of time. But security services throughout Europe are on heightened alert at the moment because there has been quite an uptick in the number of terror-related incidents in multiple countries that have been linked back to the conflict in Gaza and the wider Middle East, also involving the likes of the war in Iran. That has got the security services in this country and elsewhere in Europe very concerned. You'll remember that our terror threat level, which was up substantial just a few weeks ago, was raised to severe, meaning that a terrorist attack is highly likely in the weeks and months ahead. So,
Wandering Neanderthal sent $5 on Power Chat. While we're talking Euro news, did you see Denmark released crime stats boo background recently? Somalis are 20x overrepresented in bother RP and murder.
I didn't see that.
BRDXV sent $5 on Rumble. Do you know why your memory is fuzzy, LP? Because this BS is commonplace for a while now.
Well, that's what I was going to say. People are saying how these things, there's so many of these stories, they all start to blend together or whatever. And I was going to say it's the same thing when they release crime stats in these European countries. It's always the same story. It's always the foreigners are like massively overrepresented in violent crimes like rape and murder. Stabbed at Queen's Park while riding her scooter. Eltonia Scan. This is the one I was thinking of. This is definitely the one I was thinking of. Okay, so is Eltonia free now? Not free, remains detained. Convicted of manslaughter in December 2020. But did they give her like day passes or something? Because again, there was some kind of day pass. Wow, she's not a day pass. Thanks. Slams asylum decision. So maybe it's just that she got put in an asylum. Maybe that's what I was thinking. Maybe she's not actually free. She didn't go to jail. The trial collapsed. Prosecution offered no further evidence. Psychiatrist. Life imprisonment with a minimum of 10 years. Pretty big difference between 10 years and life. She twice told the doctors that she lied in her asylum application. The Home Office offered no explanation as to why they ignored those clues. So is she in jail? Is in jail. High security psychiatric facility. Okay. My bad. My bad. She hasn't been released. I don't know why I thought that.
A great deal of concern, and this will be monitored.
I think it's just because she wasn't put in jail. I think that's what I got confused about.
Police and security services across Europe as to what unfolded here at about 8 a.m. in the morning local time.
Mark, do you think any European nations are rethinking the Schengen arrangement? Because, of course, Switzerland has very strict immigration policies. Of course, they have a lot of foreign nationals living in the country because they're the headquarters for a lot of international organisations. But in terms of non-Western immigration, I think just about 6% of the population is from other parts of the world. It's pretty strict in terms of work visas, but they are part of the Schengen agreement, which means essentially they have open borders.
Yeah, and we've seen actually around Germany and some other countries, there has been a move.
Something that pisses me off about these European countries, all these these Scandinavian countries, and that is they never release info about the people after they figure out, they never tell you were they a migrant, they don't even tell you the name of the person. A lot of these countries, they have privacy laws.
Move of late to increasing certain checks. So it's not full sort of border security checks when you enter another country like Germany, but more police patrols, sporadic stopping and checking of vehicles coming across the border and into their countries. But yeah, it's very difficult under Schengen to, reinstitute proper border checks that would fly against what the European Union project is, and I'm sure there would be stiff resistance to that. But there is a significant problem in Europe, which is the free passage of very extremist individuals who might domicile in one country but want to go out and carry out some form of violent extremism in another country. They've got that ability at the moment to move relatively freely throughout Europe.
Anything new on this guy? Not really.
Heute Morgen 0828.
They declared it an act of terrorism. You know what's crazy is YouTube. You can't search by date on YouTube anymore. They just removed the feature. I don't know why. I think it's because there's so much AI slop getting uploaded constantly that they turned it off, because if you were to choose to search by recent uploads, it would just all be AI slop, and they're like, well, we're just gonna have to remove that option. It's really annoying because that's obviously a good option to have. Alban Gervais was the father of 3 young children and worked as a doctor specializing in radiology in Marseille. On May 10th, 2022, Alban was sitting in his car outside a Catholic school waiting to pick up his 3- and 7-year-old children. He had his 20-month-old daughter in the car with him. Oops. Mohammed L, age 23, jumped into the passenger seat and started stabbing Alban, shouting Allahu Akbar simultaneously. Alban tried to defend himself and his daughter and jumped out of the car to draw the attacker away from the child. Mohammed L pursued him. This is what I mean, Mohammed L. This is what I mean when I say you don't even get the person's name. Pursued him, shouting, "Let me finish him in the name of God," and stabbed him 10 times in the throat, neck, and ear so vigorously that the blade of the knife snapped. Passersby rushed to intervene and eventually restrained the attacker. Alban was too seriously injured and died 16 days later, age 40. At the time of the attack, Mohammed L was already known to the police for trafficking narcotics. You would have believed that Mohammed L would be imprisoned for life for taking the life of a decorated military doctor in front of his 20-month-old daughter. Alas, no. In June 2025, a court found it to be a homicide, but for Mohammed L to be penally irresponsible because he was suffering from an acute delusional episode. He was referred to a hospital for treatment instead. This month, just 4 years after the murder, Mohammed L's full hospitalization is ending and he is being transferred to a day hospital. He will go home each night and during the weekends and in due course will be completely released into the community. As you can imagine, Albin's wife is furious and has been begging the court to reconsider the ruling, but they refuse to do so. And then somebody on their Twitter timeline, it's like this, and then it's the story about the Switzerland stabbing. So welcome to like checking the news on Twitter. This is what you get. Clashes break out at protest in Norwich after 7 Afghan migrants are charged with rape and child sexual abuse offenses. Clashes erupt at Patriots protest. What, boomers and white women showing up to yell at the racists. Okay. Clashes broke out at a protest in Norwich on Wednesday after 7 migrants from Afghanistan were charged with child sex offenses, including rape. Hundreds gathered outside Norwich City Hall for the anti-immigration protest labeled Rape Gang Protest Norwich before scraps took place with counter... I mean, we didn't see very serious scraps in that video. That was like somebody was like saying something and then the other guys were like, get out of here. The protest, which saw speeches from angry residents and chants of Keir Starmer is a wigger? What is this? Whore. It can't be whore because there's too many stars. It has to be wigger. Keir Starmer is a wigger. What would it be? It could be whore, but they put too many stars. Ayo!
Titan sent $100 on Power Chat. I stand for the white man, not caught up or relevant BTW lol.
I mean, it is relevant though. That's the thing. That's what I was saying. If you want to be real and talk about stuff that's real, then that message is always going to be relevant because that's wanker. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. We got it. Keir Starmer is a wang. Hey, thank you, Titan, for the big dono. Appreciate that very much. Yeah, wanker. Those holding St. George flags were heard shouting scum, scum, scum back at counter-protesters while police officers moved between both sides in an attempt to calm the situation. So just more rape gangs getting charged every day. Jamil Khalil, 21, of Dumbarton, Scotland, has been charged with 7 counts of rape, 1 of human trafficking, and 1 of conspiracy to commit child sexual abuse. Also in Europe, a German nationalist activist named Maximilian Markel and one of the organizers of the Remigration Summit was apprehended by German authorities, banned from boarding a plane to attend the conference in Portugal. So there's a Remigration conference in Portugal, and this German guy tried to go, and the police would not let him fly to Portugal for the conference. The official order banning Markel's departure justified the ban by claiming his attendance of the conference would lead to a growth of European identitarianism. With this, you demonstrably participate actively in the above-mentioned event, thereby strengthening the transnational networking of the identitarian movement in Europe and the dissemination of the identitarian interpretation of the term remigration. So this is the guy on Twitter. I was just arrested at Munich airport and prevented from leaving the country. My fundamental right to freedom of movement has been violated because I allegedly threatened the reputation of the Federal Republic of Germany. Right before the Remigration Summit, they're panicking. They've already lost every single debate and the culture war. Every European can see the devastating consequences of the population replacement with his own eyes, so they're playing their final card, raw repression. They're trying to jail Dries van Langehoven. That's another thing that happened. That guy lost his trial over hate speech. And now they've stopped me from leaving my own country. They want to scare millions of patriots into submission. Every unjust arrest and every violation of our rights only draws more attention to our cause and brings more people to our side. Correct. There was also a little bit of speaking of Restore Britain, there was a little bit of drama where this guy got kicked out of his local chapter after some kind of Hope Not Hate hit piece. I don't know who this guy is. Jim Monroe, Scotsman nationalist activist, Restore Britain. He says, very disappointed to have received this email from Restore on the back of a Hope Not Hate hit piece. We all dismiss Reform because they used Hope Not Hate to vet members. The Restore Britain party was supposed to be our party made of sterner stuff. Booting your base is a mistake. The email here says, membership update. Dear Jim, after careful consideration, I've decided that your involvement with our local branch is not a good fit for the party's values and direction due to past associations that are incompatible with our principles. As a result, your membership at the local level is being ended effective immediately, and you will be removed from all group chats and communications. Now, good news, somebody named Maria Botel said, to confirm no branch organizer has authority to do this. I have messaged you with my details. It would be great to discuss. She is the head of local government ward councillor. So one of the elected officials from Restore Britain. And then he said, update. After speaking with Maria Botel, I am pleased to say that this was not a party decision. My local organizer made an understandable but hastily thought out decision. I will continue on as a member of Restore Britain and as an activist. You can stop chimping. So that was fixed. Which is all, again, this is why always be chimping. This is why you have to complain and make noise when unjust things happen. Sometimes you can actually get the unjust things reversed and make a difference. This is the hit piece. Restore Britain, a new home for old fascists. James Monroe, that's this guy. Restore held its first Scottish event attended at the inaugural Dundee Central. And what James Monroe, who later tweeted, it was a bloody strong start. If you're from the Dundee area, join up. Over the past decade, Monroe has dwelled in some of the darkest corners of the extreme right. Hope Not Hate and the Ferret previously revealed his past in the Scottish Nationalist Society, a militant neo-Nazi groupuscule that emerged in 2012. A groupuscule is a small, typically radical or extremist splinter group within a political party or movement. Initially formed under the name Scottish National Socialists, the SNS adopted the Celtic Triskel symbol designed to echo the Nazi flag as its banner. The tiny group drilled martial arts, targeted universities with propaganda, and attached itself to the extreme right movement. It's actually very white-pilling that you could do this. Okay. It's actually very white pilling that you could do this and then get kicked out of the party, and then to have the party say, no, we made a mistake. You can stay in the party. That's actually that's significant. It shows that Restore, they might not be perfect. Oh God, there's a Zionist in the party or whatever. I know. Yeah, I know everything's fake except for you. You're the only real nationalist. I get it. But it's actually like a very good sign that they would take people like this and say, hey, you can be in our party. And we don't care if they try to use you to smear the whole party. You can be in the party. Well, the Nazis were socialists, so it's that kind of socialism. I think, and I think when people like this do that, it's more just like to be associated with National Socialism than any kind of actual socialism. But you know, whatever. Socialism isn't like bad if you have a nationalist nation. If you have a nation that cares about its people, then socialism is not inherently bad. The Nazis were left wing. They called themselves socialists. The Nazis were left wing. What else? DOJ reportedly launches criminal investigation into E. Jean Carroll.
Tonight, there is new reporting that Donald Trump's Department of Justice is targeting E. Jean Carroll, the former magazine columnist Trump was found liable for sexually abusing in 1996. That's in front of a civil jury. Citing multiple sources familiar with the matter, CNN reports the DOJ has launched a criminal investigation into whether Carroll committed perjury in a 2022 deposition when she said...
Mark Beamer sent $20 on Power Chat. Real.
Yeah. I don't want to get into the whole thing, but it's like people hate socialism because you just think it means giving welfare to N-words. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, I hate that too. I hate that too.
She received no outside funding.
Thank you for the $20.
For her civil lawsuit against Trump for sexual abuse. The legal team around Carroll later disclosed that billionaire Democratic donor Reid Hoffman paid some of her legal fees. Of course, we don't know when that happened and when she answered that question. I should note, MS Now has not independently confirmed this reporting. CNN says
weaponization.
Carroll declined to comment on the story. A spokesperson for the Justice Department did give CNN this statement, quote, "We can confirm that no U.S. Attorney's Office has declined to investigate any case relating to the subject matter of CNN's inquiry." No U.S. Attorney's Office has declined to investigate. We will not comment beyond that. Take that for what it's worth. MS Now senior legal reporter Lisa Rubin joins me.
VRDXB sent $5 on Rumble. Straight LP, I was born into a communist socialist country with only whites. It's always the same outcome.
What country? Romania? The only one I can think of that would fit that description would be Romania. Doxed again. We're coordinating. We're triangulating your real identity as we speak, RDX. Poland. Poland isn't communist. What? They're not communist. Look, man, I don't want to be communist, okay? I would rather be capitalism, but like socialism is a very broad, you know what I mean? Public schools are like socialist. Isn't it? When you think about it, like, you know, I don't know, man. Again, economics isn't really the thing I care about, so it's not really my strong suit, and I'm not going to argue it. And it's not like I'm like, no, we got to be socialist. Like, that's the best thing. I'm just saying it seems like way less of an issue if you have your demographics in order. Poland is like one of the best countries in the world right now, isn't it? In a way, like Poland is one of the places that white nationalists always say, like, wow, I went to Poland and it was like fucking amazing. Looks like Trudeau didn't hit it good. Or Trump, E. Jean Carroll, yeah. How do you conceive of communism? I don't want to answer this. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to actually be communist. I think communism is retarded. But I'd rather live in a white communist country than a multicultural hellhole.
Now,
maybe I would regret that. Maybe that's naive.
Lisa, this reporting emanated from CNN, so we're sort of operating off.
Warsaw's extremely, but it's all relative, though. It's all relative. I'm not saying it's a perfect utopia. I'm saying it's white, it's clean, it's Christian, right? Am I wrong? Or am I thinking of Hungary? But they're kind of similar. Like they're both like that, right?
Off the report they have, what can you piece together so far?
Well, Chris, this is an issue that actually percolated at E. Jean Carroll's first of the two trials that I attended. And we do know when she gave that deposition, and we also know, maybe more importantly, when her lawyer, Roberta Kaplan, then disabused Trump's son.
They have dating hookups with that. Yeah, look, I'm not saying it's perfect. I know that. I did the video about the guy who, the black guy who went to Poland and like banged a bunch of feminists and gave them all AIDS. What, Simon Mole? It's a good. That's on the Hypocrite. If you haven't watched that video, it's like a 10-minute video. It's a crazy story. He would just call these white women racist if they refused to like let him raw dog, and he gave them all AIDS. He gave them all full-blown AIDS. I'm not saying Poland is perfect. Nothing's perfect. But it's white and it's clean and it's Christian, relatively speaking, from what I understand.
Lawyer Joe Tacopina and Alina Habba of their belief.
I've never been there.
That E. Jean Carroll had lied in her October 2022 deposition. I'm going to read to you from a letter that was sent to Mr. Tacopina's firm by Robbie Kaplan in April of 2023 on the eve of that first trial. And
if you guys aren't familiar with the E. Jean Carroll Trump rape trial, it was like the biggest like miscarriage of justice I've ever seen. The fact that she won her lawsuit, she sued him for rape, and she couldn't remember when the rape happened, right? Because then if she gave like a date, then he would have had to have like been there. It was also like a Law and Order story. I actually did a video about that aspect of it because it was like she lifted the whole thing from a Law and Order episode that he raped her in the changing room of this like Berghoff's, whatever it's called, like clothing store. But Trump, so the DOJ is investigating her for perjury because she claimed she wasn't getting funding for the lawsuit, but she was getting funding. And so now they're saying, oh, well, she forgot about that. She like, this is what MSNBC is saying. They're saying like, well, no, she knew that was happening, but she forgot about it because she didn't have to pay because the lawsuit was on consignment anyway. So it was just a big mix up.
I think based on what she says in this letter, the notion that there's a criminal investigation into E. Jean Carroll is sort of gobsmacking. She writes, it appears that you may be operating on a misunderstanding of the facts. As Ms. Carroll testified at her deposition, she had and continues to have a contingency fee arrangement with her counsel. And let me just pause there for our viewers. That means that E. Jean Carroll was not paying her lawyers as the case went along, but that the lawyers were themselves bearing the fees, and that if there was going to be a recovery, then they would get some percentage of that. Robbie Kaplan continues, in September of 2020, well after Ms. Carroll filed her state court complaint in November 2019, that's the first lawsuit that E. Jean Carroll filed that ended up going to federal court because Trump wanted it there, not because she wanted it there. Then she says, counsel for Ms. Carroll secured financial support from a nonprofit organization that would help offset certain costs and fees in connection with counsel's work on Ms. Carroll's behalf. And here's the important part. Ms. Carroll has never met and has never been party to any communication, written or oral, with anyone associated with that nonprofit or its financial supporters. And let me then take a step back. The day before this letter, Robbie Kaplan had written to Alina Habba and said, look, in connection with preparation for trial, Jean now remembers something that is different than what she testified to when you took her deposition. She now remembers that she did know that we had secured some funding on her behalf.
Right.
That doesn't change the fundamental fact of her testimony.
So what happened was E. Jean Carroll let slip that there was funding, which goes against what she testified. And their whole defense is, well, she remembered now, but she didn't know at the time that she testified. Dude, throw that bitch in jail. Throw Hassan Piker in jail. Throw all these people in jail. Weaponize the Justice Department. Throw all these freaks in jail. Weaponize that shit. I love it. I love it. Finally. The only good thing Trump is doing is going after these people. And they're all of like they're saying so many words in this news clip, but it's all irrelevant bullshit. She testified under oath something that wasn't true, and that they can prove she knew wasn't true.
The Nutter sent $3 on Power Chat. Can you pull up a pic of the accuser from when she was young? For research.
And their whole defense is like, oh, well, she forgot about that because she wasn't really dealing with the financial aspect of it. I mean, this is her.
I call it the Mouse House because some very distinguished mice live here. Kahneman lives in the kitchen.
Remember, she went on Anderson Cooper after the trial and said that a lot of people think rape is sexy. And Anderson Cooper was like he was like this. Not literally, but hold on. E. Jean Carroll, Anderson Cooper... rape is sexy. It was like they went to like commercial right away. Bing videos.
Victim.
You don't feel like a victim? I was not thrown on the ground and ravished. Which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt. Well, I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short.
Most people think of rape as being sexy. And she has like a whole history of very weird fucking tweets about, I think this guy showed one because somebody called the guy who posted this, somebody called him like this, for example. Eugene Carroll, sex tips from my dog. You never want to surprise a girl's vagina by suddenly throwing a ball at it. So she's a weirdo freak.
Some very distinguished mice live here. Kahneman lives in the kitchen. Tversky lives in the bedroom. This is my shed. And on that side are the books that most influenced me growing up. On the door are the list of my dogs. Marky, Fortuna de la Spunky.
Something tells me she's not living in the crack shed anymore after getting millions of dollars from Trump. Although I don't know if she ever has collected the money. But something tells me if she got her millions of dollars, well, it was like 85 million. It was something like absolutely insane that they awarded her. Something tells me she moved out of the crack shed.
Heidi, Tits, Bloody, and Hepburn. The streams and the rivers were dry. And it so horrified me that I came out and started painting the rocks blue to indicate that there was once a river here. And then after I got done painting the rocks, I just sort of walked over here and then did.
So this mentally ill woman said Trump raped her 20 years ago on a date. She can't remember the date, and she has no witnesses and nobody that would testify that she even told them about it at the time. And somehow the jury was like, yeah, that happened, pay her. And now she's getting investigated for perjury because she lied on the stand about whether or not anybody was financially supporting the lawsuit. And speaking of lawsuits, Frogan, who lost a lawsuit against Ethan Klein, is lying and coping. And it's just such a great example of people who live in like denial of financial reality.
Speaking of antidepressants, I did
Here we go.
finally
She's going to start talking about the lawsuit, right?
raise my dose.
Trump is appealing that decision, probably. I don't know.
Shout out to the internet.
You raised your dose of antidepressants. We're so proud. I am a big believer in the bro science that medicine and that kind of stuff is all fake.
I cannot make a comment at this time, but the lawsuit is still ongoing.
Well, yeah, they have to figure out how much money you owe them. Yeah, everybody knows that.
Nobody won, nobody lost.
Well, a default judgment means you lose. Explain what a default...
Right, so she didn't respond in the lawsuit, so they awarded Ethan Klein, H3H3, a default judgment, meaning that she lost the lawsuit, and now the next step is for them to decide what is going to be the award. How much is she going to have to pay for the copyright violation? I believe that's what she was sued for, copyright violation.
Judgment is...
It is still ongoing.
Yeah, because
They said you lost. Well, they don't know what they're talking about. So.
Well, explain it.
And she's still collecting legal fees on her like GoFundMe, whatever. So that's why she's saying the lawsuit's not over, because she wants people still to donate for the legal fees, even though she obviously wasn't paying a lawyer, or she wouldn't have been in default.
Ooh, these are cute.
Is that it? Oh, well, hey, you know what? You've got an extra $38,000. Why don't you just go buy them? Yeah,
I did leg day
you
at
know
the
what?
gym
She
today.
should buy them. Treat yourself.
I did leg day.
Raised $38,000 for a legal defense against H3H3. By the way, I only raised $14,000 for my legal defense, and I won my lawsuit. I was in the right. $38,000, didn't hire a lawyer, and is just in denial about the whole thing.
Treat yourself. You haven't been eating McDonald's, you gotta get something out of it, right?
At the end of the day, people don't know what they're talking about.
Nobody knows what they're talking about.
I'm not going to make a comment at this time.
You're not gonna say anything?
But the moral of the story is, don't listen to everything you read on the internet. Like Reddit.
Court filings are not exactly the internet.
It's so over. Oh my god. Like, how didn't she graduate from college? How do you talk like this? Oh my god. What the hell happened?
Seems very simple. It isn't.
It isn't simple. Okay.
It isn't, unfortunately.
Well, what does a default judgment mean?
Ooh, my back hurts. And at the end of the day, no matter what I say, it will be twisted and people will hear what they want to hear.
We are doing that at this exact moment. This is what's happening right now.
Don't listen to everything you read.
You are totally right.
And see what they want to see and believe what they want to believe.
Yeah.
So there's absolutely no reason for me to say anything. I'm not going to waste my breath. I could say like what they want to hear, and there'll still be a fucking issue. There will still be a goddamn issue with everything.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be on Noah's stream the other day. I don't remember when. And, well, I'm not even a politics streamer. That's the thing.
It's just crazy denial. I hope, to quote that one comment, I hope she has to convert to Judaism as part of the settlement. King Ethan Klein makes her convert to Judaism.
VLDXV sent $5 on Rumble. As per Rerum Novarum on Telegram, Peter Thiel is moving to Argentina because he is concerned about the future of the US and is no longer aligned with American leadership.
What? Why Peter Thiel is decamping. Far-right U.S. oligarch, another homosexual, by the way, relocating to Argentina due to concerns around his ability to meddle in American politics to his advantage. The billionaire's new roots in Argentina are said to be partially motivated by concerns about the future of the United States and shared beliefs with Argentina's right-wing leader. Oh yeah, Milei. The aspiring Jew, Javier Milei. Whatever. Libertarian Party official disaffiliation from the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. I'm not going to read all this, but the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire has been ordered to cease and desist all use of the brand of Libertarian Party in association with the Libertarian Party. Jeremy Kauffman said, "This is going to be embarrassing and expensive for you." I don't know about all that. Libertarian Party NH says, cited platform violations 0, cited anti-libertarian violations 0. 0 members of our current leadership endorsed. Oh yeah, they were accused of endorsing Trump during the 2024 instead of endorsing the Libertarian candidate, Chase Oliver, homosexual. So there you go, Libertarian drama. Okay, we got a couple of little Jubilee cuts for you. Brian Johnson on Jubilee. Let's see. Let's just listen.
Do you not think that you're addicted to trying to stay alive? Do you not think that that's an addiction? Do you think not doing face fat, like fat injections in your face, constantly doing plastic surgery, do you not see that as an addiction yourself?
No, I view it as a pursuit, and we're trying to figure out how.
So if I change the name of my addictions to a pursuit, then maybe you'll think that it's socially acceptable?
I think that we share something in common, that neither one of us wants to die in this moment.
I mean, not today, but sometime, hopefully. Hopefully.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people would change their opinion and want to exist if the conditions of society were not so brutal. It's not fair.
What have you done to change those brutal conditions in society? You're a person who has literally hundreds of millions of dollars, and you spend $2 million every year trying to look younger. And honestly, you look your age.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reality. And I'm not even the first person to say that. So what are you doing?
What's that sound effect? You look your age. Blah, blah. By the way, I ordered a Steam Deck because I want a soundboard that plays video clips, and apparently Steam Decks can do that. I ordered the wrong thing. I never should have bought this stupid fucking MPD. Anybody want to buy this? Does anybody want to buy this? But it's coming. The soundboard's coming back when I get my Steam Deck.
To make humanity better, really, other than pursuing your own vanity?
Yeah, well, I share everything I learn from all the scientific evidence with everybody for free.
But it's scientific evidence from your own body, right? So the study isn't terribly useful to the general population because a black woman isn't going to have the same biometrics.
Bro, see, this is just being argumentative for the sake of it. That's like such a valid point. Like, yeah, I spend all this money and I'm doing all the research, and then I share the research with humanity so other people can learn from it. That's a really valid, whether or not you think the guy's a freak or what. I definitely think he's a freak. Not Steam Deck, Stream Deck. It's different. It's not a video game thing. Anyway. But she's so much in argumentative mode. She's just like, oh, and what's that going to do for a fat, obese black woman? her body's totally different. It's like, okay, well, maybe maybe Oprah could do the same thing then, if that's what they care about. It's so crazy, the level of like, you haven't done enough. And it's like, well, I've done more than you. Yeah, but you're rich.
As a 48-year-old white man. So, I mean, in some ways, it's kind of a selfish pursuit that you're trying to make it seem like it's altruistic. I feel like that.
I used an old iPad and some free software called Updeck and programmed all kinds of soundboard buttons and OBS control. Really? OBS control? So like you could show unhide a scene by pressing your iPad? Because that's what I was trying to figure out. And I decided to just buy the thing that already does that instead of programming my own.
That's the disingenuous part of this conversation, is that you're coming at it from an argument of altruism, but I see it, and I think a lot of people in this room today see it as selfishness and greed to try and hold on to life as much as you can. Do you not?
Angry shrew. Women. Hey guys, I have an idea. Let's do some Socratic debates and let's invite a bunch of women. Oh, Glenn Greenwald was also on Jubilee. There's only one thing that surprised me about the Jubilee with MAGA diehards. It wasn't that some people scream and refuse to stop talking. It wasn't that these were mostly young people cheering and finding purpose in wars, but never fighting in them. It wasn't that their politics is more of a cult of personality, all expected and found in all factions. It was that despite being political junkies, they had no idea about Trump's enormous corruption scandals because the corporate and independent media they consume doesn't mention it. Administration has been considerably more corrupt than the Biden administration. That's the debate proposition. So you like the war in Iran? You think foreign policy is going great right now in May of 2026?
Chuck Steak sent $3 on Power Chat. She's gonna get BTFO'd when he whips out the binder full of statistics.
What was the censored word there? You know, this is kind of a weak counter argument, but I would say that like getting bigger amounts of money doesn't mean you're more corrupt. It just means you're better at being corrupt. You know, like maybe that's a little bit of a weasel distinction, but it's like if you're breaking the same law or you're violating the same ethics rule, why is it worse if you just because you got more money for doing it? That just means you're better at negotiating. But no, it's like the whole like all sides do it is like obviously like a massive cope, and all of these people are traitors, and America is a dying empire, and everyone's just sucking out what they can.
The Nutter sent $3 on Power Chat. I can't stop thinking about Glenn licking up nut off black toes.
Yeah. Thanks for that graphic imagery and wording. Okay, Ian Carroll. This is funny. Somebody posted this and I thought it was really interesting because this was about 2 weeks ago, May 13th. About 2 weeks ago, Nick Fuentes said a lot of the anti-Israel stuff is on its way out, and that we need to be more dynamic in the approach, and that we can't just talk about the same things over and over and over again.
I think that a lot of the anti-Israel or anti-Jewish stuff, let's be honest, I think it's on its way out. I think it has become passé. I think people are tired of it. It's become stale. And it's become a drag. Now, don't misunderstand what I mean when I say that. I'm not saying it is no longer true, and I'm not saying it's no longer worth talking about, and I'm not saying that it's no longer a central issue and arguably the most important issue. I'm not saying any of that. But what I am saying is that, like anything, every political tactic has a shelf life. And every fad and every trend has a shelf life before inevitably people become disinterested, apathetic. They're ready for something different.
It's true. I mean, that's already happened with the Iran war, which is like I've tuned into Nick a couple times in the last couple weeks, and he's just giving updates on the Iran war. And I'm over here like, who fucking cares, dude? Who cares? And the same thing happened with October, and it's inevitable. I was going to say October 7th, it's inevitable. You can't just talk about the same thing nonstop. You get bored. But I think the other reason is that you get a lot of people tuning out eventually.
At Free9563 sent $5 on your tube. There's a difference between socialist state and a free market state with a robust social safety net. Diversity makes the latter untenable. Example UK.
Yeah, I guess to me those are like the robust social safety net is just socialism to me. So if that's not socialism, then I guess I just don't know what socialism is. But yeah, that's basically what I meant. I think the part of the other problem, and this is what you get when you have people like Ian Carroll and Candace Owens being some of the figureheads of the anti-Israel movement or the noticing community or whatever you call it, is that there's like this sensationalism, and the sensationalism creates like this hopium for people that everything is going to get fixed at once. You know what I mean? That like RDX says that's not socialism, or it was a misunderstanding. Then again, I said I'm not an economist. I'm not a big city economist. Okay. What happens is you get people hooked on this idea of like, oh, we're about to expose that Israel killed Charlie Kirk, and the whole thing is going to unravel. You know what I mean? That everything's going to change. The whole world is going to change once we blow the lid off of this. And people get like sucked into this, and they're sitting on the edge of the seat, and they're waiting and they're waiting and they're waiting. And then after a few months, people are like, what am I even doing with my life? And this, if you've been around for a long time, that's like a recurring pattern that you've seen over and over. So anyways, Nick Fuentes was saying this, that people are getting bored of just hitting this one talking point over and over and over again. And then Ian Carroll said, this is how a snake tells you to stop talking about Epstein and all the other important anti-Israel topics we mustn't stop talking about. He just dresses it up in word salad to make it sound clever. Ricardo Duchesne says he's correct, actually. He's actually right. So that was 2 weeks ago. And now, yesterday, Ian Carroll says, I'm done with journalism. If you can see the title down here, I'm done with journalism. Posted yesterday. Is that what we were calling it this whole time? Journalism?
I've been thinking a lot about Owen Benjamin's episode on Tucker Carlson.
Despair is the sin. Despair is, that's why like there's people I'll go at. I'm like, if you spread despair, you're basically poisoning people, you know?
That is such a wise thing. I've done a lot of despair spreading, and I regret it.
Oh, me too. Yeah, but see, telling the truth can come off as despair, but it's still good.
Yeah, but I think it can be too much. I mean, it bums me out. So we're commanded not to despair.
Exactly.
Not to fear.
Exactly. That's when like that principle, like those fundamentals kick in, where there's been times where I'm like, but I know like despair is a sin. Like that's like spitting in the face of a gift, right?
Yes.
Conspiracy theories are entering a danger.
Information is the oxygen of the democracy.
There's so much.
I mean, I agree with that in general. That's actually to throw it back to Vickrum and his account being banned. I had bookmarked I bookmarked a bunch of tweets of people saying, Chud's going to jail. It's over. You're retarded if you think this guy's not going to jail. I bookmarked a bunch of tweets, including one from Vickrum, on the off chance. I agree. Like that's a very real possibility. Okay. But on the off chance that he gets off, I want to go back and dunk on all these people. And it ties into what Owen Benjamin is saying there about despair and how that's a sin, right? If you're rooting for that, or if you're even just telling people it's hopeless and to give up hope when the fight's not even over yet, that is a sin. That is a sin. People need hope in order to continue fighting. And some people want to steal your hope before the fight's even over. That's what despair is.
Evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that would be enough to collapse the current paradigm and change the whole planet.
Whoa. I've never watched an Ian Carroll video in my life, not gonna lie.
I think it's one of the best podcasts that's been.
Pretty intense intro. You know you're dealing with some serious stuff.
Recorded in a long fucking time. I think it is such an interesting and wise and inspired conversation that also like moves at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Owen thinks in so many funny, like sort of metaphorical jumps that you kind of have to catch up to the neural architecture that he's built to understand the world as you're listening to him in order to keep up with his rapid sort of theological or philosophical or just intellectual kind of bounces around topics. Owen's an interesting character on the internet, in my opinion, because I had no idea who he was at all. Didn't know about his career, didn't know about his comedy, didn't know about his online stuff, didn't know about him getting censored off the internet.
Bro got one-shotted by Owen Benjamin. He watched one. He never heard of Owen Benjamin in his life. What? Such a new fag, by the way. Not for nothing, but like, talk about new fag. Knows nothing about Owen Benjamin. Watches one interview and now he's like, wow, I'm done being an anti-Semite.
Nada. But I didn't know who he was or like what his background was. And I hadn't seen a lot of his content, except to know that he was, you know, a funny kind of conspiracy theorist that had some good takes, but I hadn't really heard much. But in hearing this Tucker interview, it's so interesting what his perspective is on all this. The piece that I keep on circling on that I think is really inspirational, that I'm sort of taking to heart as like a mantra, holding with me all the time, is this shifting away from the doomerism of the pessimism of looking at all these conspiracies and looking at how fucked up the world is, just looking for optimism and good stories. I mean, every dark story has a light side, and every fucked up thing that's going on has silver linings and good truth to be found, good stories to be told. And a lot of it is just your perspective. And he has a lot of points about how certainly you can blame various groups and peoples and specific individuals for, you know, most of the horrible shit that's going on in this world. And that's cool, worth doing. In every instance of something going wrong, you can also turn the lens inward at your...
I knew this is where it's going. That's why I groaned. I knew this was going to, like, again, this is why you don't get this guy talking about racial issues and stuff like that, because it's, oh no, you just want to point the finger and blame people for your problems, but it's not Netanyahu's fault you don't have a big titty goth girlfriend, you fucking incel. What if my life is awesome? What if I love my life and my wife and my family and I make good money and I live on a big, beautiful lake and I still don't like this slur and that slur and the other? Can't even be funny. Sometimes a well-placed slur is so funny, but you just can't drop them on YouTube. But what if I have all that stuff and I still don't like K slurs and N slurs? What then?
Yourself individually and at your group and a culture and your country, and like everything bad that's happening to the US, we are letting happen to ourselves. Everything bad that we wish was better about our culture is in part carried by ourselves being a part of our culture. And certainly we do.
VRDXV sent $5 on Rumble. Yeah, don't point out the violent drain spiral of the white race. Shouldn't spread bad news.
You know, 10 years ago, I could understand a lot of people being in denial or just being ignorant. But at a certain point, when this stuff has been talked about to death.
Fire Rises sent $5 on Power Chat. A new stream deck, huh? That's what the Cope needs. More complicated technical equipment.
I was thinking so too. It's actually cool. It's got actual dials on it that I can use to control the levels, and it has like its own visual thing. I think it's like to show where the levels are with the audio. So I think it actually will make the show better. It's like $350, but I think it's going to be good. Look, there is something to be said for talking about self-improvement because you are powerless. This is something I know and I recognize and that I bring to my own show and that I try to always keep in the back of my mind is like, yeah, you can know about stuff that's going on in the world, but it's also like you can't control the Trump administration or what Netanyahu is doing or whatever. But you can control, like, are you taking care of clean your room, bucko, basically. And that does matter. That does matter because for a lot of people, this stuff turns into escapism where they just don't want to think about their own problems. And that's not good.
need information outwards about.
But it's all about balance with everything. That's basically what Nick was saying in the clip, is you need some balance. You can't just hammer the same points over and over and over again. That's boring. The people crave novelty and they crave diversity in terms of intellectual ideas, in terms of tonal diversity, some comedy, some serious stuff, et cetera, et cetera.
Who's doing what and what's wrong in this world. But we also, I think we need a lot more interest.
It's not a Steam Deck. It's a Stream Deck. Okay, it's not a video game thing.
Inspection inwards too, into how can we be better and how can we like basically bypass the negative and just move towards the positive direction. Just huge shout out to Owen. I thought it was one of the most interesting conversations I've heard in podcast form in months and months and months. I almost never listen to podcasts anymore because it's just really easy for them to become repetitive, even when I love the people on them and I like the topics they're talking about. And I wasn't expecting to watch more than 5 to 10 minutes of this one. I've now watched it through twice, and I think it's really cool. Huge shout out to Owen and Tucker for an awesome conversation.
Literally,
if you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. It won't be everyone's cup of tea because Owen sort of like thinks, speaks, and sort of logically leaps in a very much sort of fast-paced and fluid flow state kind of way. But I love that shit. That's exactly how my brain works. So anyways, just a little preamble.
You need a very high
No, I'm
IQ.
sick of the part of my job that has me constantly looking at all the evil in the world and just talking about that. Because it's important. I'm relatively good at it, at connecting dots. And
I saw somebody in a tweet say that he was doing true crime, which I don't know if that's true. It is ironic if that's like his way of getting away from evil, is like, now I'm just going to talk about people raping and murdering and stuff like that.
Following the money and going wherever the truth leads and not being afraid to just tell it like I see it. It seems to have worked out pretty well for my career so far. But it also is a trap that traps you in the cycle of constantly fixating on everything that's wrong and everything that's going bad. And the more you know, the more horrible humanity can really start to seem. You can really get very down about the human condition when you look at the big picture around the globe with a particular focus on the most evil nexus points of power, money, influence, and everything else. It's not good for you. And it's definitely not good for me. And I'm sick of it. Plus, it's just like, how many times can we talk about the same abuses, the same genocide, the same lies over and over and over and over and over? And I'm not saying that I'm going to stop talking about it. What I'm saying is that there's other angles that I think are important that I'm thinking more and more about, that I feel the need for self-healing in terms of like my emotional and mental state of what am I focusing my whole life on. I need to focus more on positive sides of these stories. Same stories, just look at them from other angles. If I'm feeling that way, then to me that says that I bet a lot of you are feeling that way too. I bet that a lot of us are feeling pretty overwhelmed by how horrible.
What you need is racial consciousness. That's what you need, Ian.
The world seems when you're trying to be tuned in, because it's important to be tuned in.
You are a white man. Your people are under attack.
It's a good thing to be tuned in to.
Wake up, Ian. And then there's like, he snaps up. He's like, whoa, what? You hear the voice. You hear like the echo. Wake up, Ian.
What's going on in this world? That's how we wake up. And that is how we free ourselves from, let's just say, the cabal of people, of powerful, that are controlling our government, buying out our elections, killing people endlessly and senselessly, and telling us to shut up about it. It's important that we are all awake and aware and paying attention. But oh boy, is that draining. I've been thinking a lot about that feeling of how do you refocus to still become informed and be aware and ask those questions, learn the truth, but doing it in a way that twists the lens, that recolors the situation and hold the positive perspective. Because ultimately, you can see it half full, you can see it half empty. History is a long journey through a lot of evil shit. And all across the crazy story of history, all the evil dictatorships, all the terrible genocides, all of the really horrible, fucked up shit that humans have done to each other over thousands of years that we know of. Across all of that, there were stories of wonderful human beauty. There were stories of love. There were stories of overcoming. There were stories of the underdog. There were stories of good rising up and fighting back. There's always both sides. It's push-pull. It's humanity. It's the light and the dark. It's just the way it is. We're not going to defeat evil in our lifetimes or in any future lifetime, but we're also not going to succumb to it either. It just depends how you want to look at it. And, you know, in any given time, there's different amounts of good and evil.
Is there a point coming? We're halfway through the video. It's going to speed it up a little tick here. Just a little 1.25.
There are very real forces in this world that very much deserve to be inspected, called out, made plain for everybody, and fought against with everything we got. But we don't need to dwell on it, and we don't need to assign these people more power than they have. And I think when you really look out at the world today, I think that what we're learning is that these people actually have a lot less power than they think. We just are very focused on the wrong time horizon because we all live in this digital age now. We've been here for like 20 years, kind of more like 10 for this actual digital age, and really more like 2 or 3 for sort of the intensity of this AI ramp that we're on. It's changing so much, and it's going to keep going. But there's a enduring question about social media and technology and all this communication that we now have that we've all asked a million times. Is it worse now, or can we just see what's going on, right? Like, is there more evil in the world now because of technology and because of this acceleration? Or are we just all more aware of it because we all have it in our phones, and outrage and fear are the best at selling things? They're the best at getting views. And
guys, are my streams this boring? Be real with me. Every time I watch another streamer, I just think this is so boring. And then I think, but I've talked about this. I've touched on these same points before.
Probably a bit of both. Probably both.
Am I boring?
But the point that I keep
Tell it to me straight,
is regardless
guys.
of how much evil there is in the world in any given year, regardless of whether things are getting better or worse, things are definitely getting more technologically enabled. As in, everyone is getting more technologically enabled. The evil rich folks, very much more technologically enabled. But all of us
I hear,
are way more technologically enabled as well. That leads to very bad things and very...
There's a lot of technology now. People are online. Wow, that's fucking deep. Whoa, I never thought of it like that before. Technology. Whoa.
Good things from a very technical, like sophisticated businesses, Palantirs, digital mass surveillance, like on that kind of scope of things, all the way down to the deeply like soul level. Where do you find meaning? And are you dopamine addicted? And are you like, is this taking your job? You know, like your personal life being affected by these technologies too. But I think we can all agree that if you choose to wield it, you as the average citizen anywhere in the world has the potential to make a way bigger impact than ever before. Not everyone is going to take the steps to make that impact. Not everyone is going to do anything with it. I mean, I am a perfect example of someone that has made a very strangely outsized impact for where I came from by using technology to just try. And we're starting to see a lot of political campaigns springing up out of this digital space, out of this sort of decentralized space, if you will, of sort of more regular type folks. Not necessarily always 100% regular, but more regular type folks. Not so hand-selected establishment picks that are paraded around like little paper puppets, but instead just regular Americans that are like, hey, I have a big social media following, or I'm up to try, or I run a successful business, or I'm going to get in the race. And we are now seeing all of these sort of grassroots riser-uppers. We're seeing the rise of citizen journalism, right? We're seeing regular people just popping up out of nowhere, starting YouTube channels, contributing on Twitter, getting involved in X Spaces, contributing information, scrutinizing, exposing. It certainly comes with a lot of noise. It is clearly a trend towards increasing potential to make a difference. Tell me if you disagree, but the way I feel about it, we're looking at the wrong time horizon when you feel like everything's getting worse. Lots of things are getting worse. But every time I try to logic out how this technological revolution goes, it either goes entirely towards technological military control state, where you are in a literal gulag. They control everything. They control all, and you break the law. The drones come. They put you in the box. They steal your money. They torture you in secret. Whatever it is. It like either goes all the way.
Jake Tung sent $5 Rumble. Shit on Ian all you want, but at least he has a great head of hair.
You guys are gonna be so mad when I get back from Turkey.
To the digital gulags, or they will set themselves free. It just doesn't seem like it when you look at a 3-month time horizon or even a 1-year time horizon. This is just my opinion. But suppose there's...
So you're saying decades from now, things will either be good or bad. Wow. I never thought about it that way. Thanks, Ian. I feel better.
A million civilizations out there in the universe somewhere at some time. All of them different. But suppose that all those million civilizations invent electricity at some point because it's out there. It's like possible. They're smart. They invent fire. They make food. They look different, but whatever. Imagine there's a million civilizations that invent electricity and a million different civilizations that start figuring out what you can do with electricity. Basically, any civilization, any grouping of beings that create a society where you can communicate remotely with each other. That's what this is. It's just a remote communication system. And any civilization that makes a remote communication system would have to go through all the same things we're going through. You'd have to learn how to become a part of a civilization and culture where there's a lot less privacy, but a lot more communication, a lot less clarity on truth, but a lot more decentralization of contribution. All these things we're learning about the digital age, these growing pains, kind of feels like we're middle schoolers, still just getting our first telephone and figuring out how to like hang with the boys.
Think about it, guys. If another civilization invented electricity, then they would also invent the telephone, and then they'd be communicating more. Think about it. What?
And everything's very weird. We're all very immature. I think we're just going through that as a civilization that has just entered this technological space where no longer are we all individuals in our far off places doing our own things in our own little communities. We're just now all part of one globalized culture. And there's a lot of sad stuff about becoming a globalized culture. There's a lot that's lost. And there's a lot that we could be doing to mitigate that, to preserve our actual unique cultures. That's a conversation for a different day. But I can't square any logical understanding of where this goes that doesn't lead to our culture evolving and just inherently marching closer and closer towards values that align with the decentralized truth. Because no one wants to be.
I guess like what he left out of his civilizations analogy was he left out the like global, like the fact that there's a whole bunch of different cultures that are being smushed together by the internet. I guess that's the point he was trying to make. But in my mind, it was like, I was just like imagining some alien race somewhere where they're all like, they have one culture, but now they have technology.
Lied to.
Dude, how is this video called I'm Quitting Journalism? It's just clickbait.
Advantage of. Everyone wants
this is how you get popular, is you just do massive clickbait.
Best life for themselves and their family.
Non-stop.
And ultimately, that always comes back to truth. Either you're manipulating everybody else or you're not. And it doesn't take a genius to realize that if everyone acts like you, think through what the world would be like. And if you're a manipulator, if you're an evildoer, if you're a taker from...
Jesus. So the video's called I'm Done with Journalism. And then it's 15 minutes of like... I don't know, man. It's so negative. I just want to feel good sometimes. I just want to like, sometimes I just want to like look at a picture of a puppy and talk about that and talk about how that makes me feel. It's like 7 minutes of that. And then it was like 7 minutes of, but dude, technology, think about it. Okay. Where are we? This guy reacted to a Howling Mutant tweet.
When I saw this scene, it finally hit me that Homelander was the bad guy. The man who I spent 5 years idolizing was actually not a hero at all. He would engage in homosexuality to save his own life. This is genuinely the most ignorant statement I've read in a long time. It wasn't his vile assault on Becca. It wasn't the abuse of his son. It wasn't his torture of Stormfront. It was not Flight 47. It wasn't any of the hundreds of abuse that he's committed during his time on the show that made you think, oh yeah, maybe this guy might be a bad person. Literally, how is it possible for anyone to have seen 5 full seasons of the show and only then come to the conclusion that, hey, maybe this dude isn't a good person? You see him commit unobjectionably and unjustifiable evil actions throughout the entirety of the series, and then you view him as heroic. This genuinely explains why people vote for the people that they vote for. We have uneducated numbskulls running around seeing evil and then justifying it just because the person who's committing the evil looks a little bit like them. How do you ignore all of the atrocities that Homelander has committed and then see yourself in him?
Did he upload it like that, or did somebody else upload it? This was a really funny tweet, by the way. He would even engage in homosexual activity to save his own life, which is the worst thing a man can do. It's true. It's like, that's right. That's why Homelander was so pathetic, was because he was offering to engage in homosexual activity. Is this video satire? I don't know, man. I don't know. The fact that he's black is really selling it. You know what I mean? I'm kind of buying it because he's black. I think it might be real. The reason I wanted to pull this up, besides the fact that it's very, very funny, is that when I was talking to HT, this thing came up where he said, oh, Nick sells like the Epstein shirts or whatever. And I said, like, that's basically like bait to get mad, and I just don't take the bait. And the point I wanted to make is that when you get mad at the Groypers for that kind of stuff, this is what you look like. You look like this black guy. You look like, and the Groypers are all sitting there thinking this retard doesn't get the joke. He doesn't get the humor. He doesn't get the irony. That's how you look to them when you take the bait on that kind of stuff. Having said that, there, not to spend too much time on this, but I have expressed my frustration sometimes with Nick, because when there's a lot of irony, it turns into a thing of you have to figure out when they're being serious and when they're not. And that can get old. But the point stands. Adolf Hitler, if you can hear me. So this was, I had a tweet about anime, and people always get mad at me because I notice things about anime. I said anime, tried to watch a show and it was bad, and people got really mad at me for that. And then I told them what show it was, and they were all like, well, yeah, that show sucks.
The Orthodoxer sent $3 on Power Chat. I'm 8 minutes behind. LP, you're genuinely one of the only streamers/show hosts I can listen to by himself with no guests.
No fishing for
all
compliments.
of my other favorite shows need guests despite how much I love the host.
I said I wasn't fishing for compliments. And then people are like, no, LP, anime is like the most right-wing art that's saving the world from the degenerate West. And then I see something like this at the local anime convention.
Several
men drinking foot juice.
Men in California are planning to sue FanimeCon after getting lung infections from drinking foot juice sold by female cosplayers. The incident reportedly happened during FanimeCon 2026.
Oh, which anime did I watch? It was Fist of the North Star 2026 on Amazon Prime with English dubs.
Inches San Jose, where a group of female cosplayers began selling cups of red drink for $15, but the drink came with a strange twist. The women would place their feet inside the drink, and when a man paid...
With the nylons on, with the tights on, that's too much. I'm going to puke.
They would lift their feet out and let the liquid drip...
Straight off the foot, okay. That I could see. Sure, I'll take a little toot. I'll take a little toot straight off the foot. That's one thing. But with the nylon?
Down from their feet for him to drink. The stunt quickly pulled in a large crowd. Many people...
Ked's Dead sent $3 on Power Chat. No LP, that wasn't from an anime convention. It was an Orthodox church.
I was thinking of that too. I was like, how can I work in an Orthodoxer joke here about dead saints?
Paid to try it, and the cosplayers reportedly made thousands of dollars in just a few hours. But after the event ended, some of the first men who drank it began coughing heavily and feeling pain and discomfort in their lungs. After going to the hospital, they were diagnosed with fungal lung infections and told they needed to stay for treatment. Now, several of the men say they regret taking part and are preparing to sue the event organizers for medical costs.
Yeah, you think? I thought it was a good idea till I developed a fungal lung infection from drinking the foot juice.
They argue that FanimeCon should have stopped the activity before it became a health risk.
So they're suing the convention, but what's interesting is that this wasn't official convention activities. This was like off the grounds. So I don't think the lawsuit should work. I don't think it should be their job to police stuff that people are doing off-site. Also, you're a fucking retard and a degenerate, and in a serious country, you would be put up against the wall. In a serious country, it's like you file the lawsuit and the clerk would be like, okay, so let me get this straight. You paid a woman money to drink juice off her foot and you got sick and now you want to sue? And the guy's like, yeah. And then the clerk would be like, bailiff, arrest this man. Arrest this man and place him in front of a firing squad. Anyway. like I say, I just notice patterns, you know. Say what you want about Star Trek fans. You don't see them doing this. You don't see Star Trek fans crooning out and drinking foot juice. I mean, I'm sure some Star Trek fans have crooned out, but not the way anime people do. Okay, well, that's going to be the show for today. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Big shout out to Titan for the big dono. Appreciate that. You guys enjoy the rest of your Thursday. I'll be back tomorrow with another show. Catch you on the flip side. Peace out.